Welcome to In the Kink of Things podcast. I wanted to come and share with you today and talk a little bit about the difference of learning to play versus looking for a play partner to play with. There seems to be a belief that you need to have a partner in order to learn about kink, about yourself, and how to play. It can be very enjoyable to learn those things with a partner, but you don't actually physically need a partner. There's a lot of information out there nowadays, even things like this, other podcasts, other videos. If you are interested in a subject, you can even just look it up and you'll find something pop up. You'll have to have your own discernment around whether it's quality or not, or whether it resonates with you. But there is information out there. There's a lot of books that are available. There's more and more people speaking out about it. And you can explore these things by yourself. There's groups out there. There's play spaces. There's events. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can explore even by yourself. Now, of course, it is an expanded experience if you're able to resonate with somebody else and explore things and expand in that way as well. Now, finding someone new to play with can be a bit challenging, at least it is for me, because I find I am letting someone in really, really close. And it's like having a sparring partner in martial arts. Like, you can really hurt each other in really bad ways if you don't have discernment, if you're not careful. So for me, that requires a lot of level of trust and also a level of knowing myself to understand what I want and desire, what I'm willing to explore, what I'm not willing to explore. And when the last person I considered having that conversation with, if they're interested in being a play partner or exploring that, I did something that I called my playbook. And it's basically, I started writing things about myself, and I called it my love life resume. This is also about, for me, having multiple partners, so being poly relationships, so that was also including some of those things. But for the kink side of things, some of the things that I put in here are basically how I see myself sexually, and I guess the label would be that I'm autosexual, but I don't know if that's a label that fits. It's just I am self-focused first, and then through that self-love, I expand and share that with others. And then I put in also my experience, how long I've played, how active I was, what kind of things that I love. So I love rope, I love restraints, sensory, play, and deprivation. Mental games with positive vibes. I don't like the belittling or cursing or making someone feel small. But I do like someone else giving me mental images or directing me more towards the Kundalini energy work, Tantra, of bringing up energy in a certain way directed by somebody else. And my favorite is really being played like a fine musical instrument is always what I think about it. I think this body is amazing, what it can do, all the sensations it can receive, the energy it can build, and it really does feel like a fine musical instrument, at least to me. Some of the other things I put in here are my edges. What's the edge of my comfort zone? What are things that I'm not quite sure I want to do, or what I'm willing to explore, but this is definitely pushing my trust, pushing my uh, comfort, pushing my fears. And for me, that things like breaking the skin on purpose, like cutting, so anything with blood, with wounds that need to heal. In our head, fantasies can be one thing, and they can be a great way to increase our experience, to add arousal, to add spice to something. But when you bring it into physical, sometimes it can be fun in the moment, but then the aftermath can be a bit messy and be more than we had bargained for. And I'm specifically thinking about something like breaking the skin, cutting the skin, where then you have a wound that you need to deal with, that needs to heal, that could possibly leave a scar. So these are all repercussions around something that may be great and wonderful in my head, but reality, a little bit different. Punching, just because I don't have the training for it, or receiving punching. Anything for me that goes beyond in the moment play, if it's leaving long lasting repercussions, like I can't walk the next day, I'm not doing it, because I have responsibilities outside of playtime. And I know there's things that happen accidentally. You pull a muscle or something slips, or things like that happen because you are engaging, or at least for myself, I am engaging in something that is edge, just like martial arts. When you train, when you do a sparring match, that you could pull a muscle, you could get punched in a way that, gives you a concussion. There's things that can happen. You may not necessarily be aiming to play or train at that level, but it is a possibility, and it's a risk that you take. And we all take those risks. Doesn't matter what we do. Every time we step into a car and go for a drive, we take a risk. Every time we get out of bed, even if we stay in bed all the time, we take a risk. So there are consequences for everything we do. So have discernment and learn about your edges. Now, we also have absolute no's. Things that I absolutely do not want to engage in. So one of them is something called scat and piss play. I don't want to do it. I don't care how much fun you think it is. Go play for somebody else. Insulting, demeaning, degrading wording actions. It's not the energy I want to play in. It's not the mind games I want to play. That's an absolute no. I want to be in the energy of love and acceptance and growth and expansion. And that's not what that kind of play brings to me. So it's a big no. So it's not that many absolute no's. I'm very open to things. But those are the things I definitely know I don't want to explore or engage in at all. Then I have a section on health. So things that come up for me, what I avoid. So I don't eat certain foods because they don't make me feel good. I have a nickel allergy, so little things like that might be important for a partner to know. They can't use something nickel coated and leave it on my body because I'll get a rash. Things like that you don't necessarily think about, but it's good to know for somebody else. I don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol. So having an alcoholic drink to relax or engage in socially is not something I would do. And being aware of that is important, because if you're having pre-play conversations and you're meeting at a place for the first time, you want to make sure you choose something appropriate. I don't necessarily want to go meet someone in a bar unless I know that they have something like mocktails or other options that I can enjoy while we talk. Then for me, because I am in a polygamous relationship, kind of play partners, STDs, history, kind of that kind of thing, testings, because we do test regularly, just to make sure we're safe within the relationship and we're not bringing in anything that could get passed around and cause health issues. Things I've enjoyed, scenes that I've played in the past that I really have loved. One of them is a long lead up of text, short sentences of what might be done to me, things that, someone comes up and whispers in my ears like, oh, I could see myself doing this or that. And that gets my imagination going, and it's like, oh, that sounds like fun. Like, when I get to do that, like, and then there's anticipation, and because we don't have to do it like right this moment, there's added build up to something. Playing with root chakra energy, kundalini, tantra, those kinds of things. I really enjoy that. For myself, being immobilized and stimulated. So there's different things, different scenes, different play scenarios in the past that I've really enjoyed. So I wrote them down so that there could be a reference material. It doesn't mean things have to be recreated, but it shows a theme of what I like. And then I can also help myself to say, oh, I really love that. I hadn't done that again. Let's explore more of that. Or maybe somebody who I'm considering partner is reading this and he's like, oh, I absolutely love that type of scene. Like, I love that energy work. I love this. And then they can see, okay, this actually resonates. This person might be someone I would enjoy interacting with. What else do we have? What I have experienced with at least once. So there's a lot of different ways that people have come up with playing. This is my list of things, like a vacuum bag, which is basically a giant bag that you get stuck in a breathing tube and the air gets sucked out. So you're like, in Star Wars where he gets stuck in the kryptonite, you just get vacuumed flat. Latex bodysuit and mask. Wax, which is where you get hot wax dripped on you. You go from a distance, so by the time the wax hits your skin, it doesn't actually burn. So you have to be careful with that. That's one of the edgier plays. Being whipped or flogged. Breath deprivation, also more on the edge play, because you have to be careful with that. Someone can get unconscious from that, because we breathe, we need to breathe, stay alive. So careful. Never put anything around your throat that doesn't come undone if you get unconscious. Very important. I've done needles, not really that interested. What that means is you put under the skin a needle crossways, so it's just being held by the upper dermis, and then people make patterns and they add lace to it, or they just have it for the sensation experience. It's different aspects of it. It's interesting, but it wasn't really my thing, and you end up with a lot of disposable garbage because you only use the needles once and then they get disposed of and then you have to use new needles. So It's not really what I want to do. I like having toys that I can repeatedly use. Using canes, which is just thin rods of different thicknesses. They all feel differently, so a thicker rod feels different than a really thin rod. Ropes, both decorative, restrictive, and even suspension play. That's more on the advanced side of things, but for myself, it can be a lot of fun. I enjoy chains, gags, blindfolds, being pressed down, a weight added on myself, being slapped, scent association. That can be really fun, where you are associating or practicing to associate a scent or an object or a sight or a sensation with sexual arousal. One of the ways you work with that is when you're sexually aroused, you introduce that scent, that sight, that object, whatever it is, and then seeing that can become associated with the feeling that or the energetic of your body at that moment. And then when you see that object again, your body remembers, oh, we see this, we smell this, like that's when we associate with being aroused. So it can actually trigger arousal within you just from the scent. Role playing, corsets, restrictive footwear, things like that. So I made a list because somebody who has never played with me before doesn't have my memories. They don't know. And it might be things that they have never even heard about. They don't know this kind of play exists, or they're like, oh yeah, I've done that lots of times. So it's information, it's communication, and this is communication for myself too. And then the last, no, not the last section, things I've considered or want to do. So playing nature, making artistic videos, doing intentional energy, alchemy work, exploring sound and play incorporation, exploring sensory boundaries, so there's things that I'm like, oh, I want to explore that, I want to do that. And when I first wrote this book, it was with the intention of playing with somebody else. But what this helped me understand is that once I looked through what I'd written, I was like, oh, I can actually do this with myself. I don't have to wait for somebody else to play. So even though this didn't work out, the input or the desire to share and be able to communicate with somebody else allowed me to actually communicate better with myself around these things, because I wrote them down. I actually reflected as like, what do I want to do? How do I want to play? What have I done? What do I not like? It's that increased awareness around the self. And I think that is our biggest stopping point in life, is not allowing ourselves to see. What do you want? What do we want to explore? What are things that we really don't like? Because we need to know those too, to create those boundaries and say, no, I don't want to go in that direction. I want to go over here. And if your soul says, but we have to go in that direction, or like something is bringing you there, that's a whole other story. But for your human self, knowing I don't like that, that's okay. We don't all have to like, I don't know, carrots, tomatoes, pork, whatever it is. I'm picking food items here, but we don't always have to like everything. We are all unique individuals, and there's a reason for that, because variety is the spice of life. It's important for us to be our authentic self, because that's why we're here. We're all here to shine our own light, to be present, to be explorative and playful, and whatever form that makes, even if it means playing with knitting or crocheting or yarn, You know, things that people think are boring. It's like, no, you can do some amazing things with a needle and a ball of yarn, and that you didn't even think about. You can be so creative. Same as the stuff. With the kink, you can be so creative and so explorative and so in having enjoyable experiences and finding your edges. You can, you know, stay within, okay, this is what I know, this is my comfort zone in play, this is why I'm exploring this. And then you can also find edges, and I'm like, do I want to go this edge? No, this is not an edge I'm really comfortable, and I don't even feel a hard push to go that way. But there's an edge over here I may want to explore, even if it's short, little, by myself or somebody else. You know, follow your heart space, follow your inner vision, follow your guidance. The more you talk with yourself, the more you interact with your soul, with your feelings, the clearer they become. So don't worry about if you say, hey, I don't know anything, I don't feel anything. Like, just allow yourself to explore. That's the joy of this, right? Okay, and then there's what I'm working on. So this is kind of like a training log for me, things I want to get better at. So the kink that I play is actually very physically demanding. So I need to do strength training. I need to practice breathing and breath stabilization and being able to hold my breath for extended periods of time. I practice toning, sounding, making noise, not just for the kink, but also for the energy and spiritual work that I do. I'm working towards increased mobility. I had a time in my life where I got very sick because I wasn't following my inner vision, and it put me to bed. So I couldn't continue doing or going down the path I was going down. So I had to switch. I had to learn to refocus on myself. I learned so much about health and wellness. As a whole career path I went down to of learning and exploration. But that helped me also understand certain things. So I am practicing. I'm looking at my diet that makes me feel good. You know, being hydrated, really important. This is strenuous, or can be. Doesn't have to be, can be. You know, if you're just enjoying like a soft caress and you're just like blissing out, you know, it's strenuous in a different way, but in a good way. But for me, I need to work with my body so that my body is able to handle the edges. It's the same as martial arts. I do martial arts. This is why I reference this as well, because I've done martial arts since I was like 11. So I have a lot of experience in training and physical interactions that the average person might think you're insane. Why would you want to roll around on the floor trying to pin each other, or, you know, punching, kicking, hitting each other with sticks? Like, why would you want to do that? And it's fun. You know, it's same with why would someone want to get up every morning and go for a 10K run? To them, it's bliss, it's fun, they need it, they're addicted to it. And I need display, because this is what lights me up. This is what makes me excited about the day. And it's not like I'm playing all the time, but embracing this energy and allowing myself to be that person who takes care of themselves, who cleans their energy body, who does the grounding meditation, the embodiment practices. Like, this is who I am, and this is who I need to embrace being. Okay, other section is something that's not kink related specifically, but old injuries, things I want to do. So injuries not from kink, just from doing martial arts, honestly, or working in the construction field. I've done that for years, so you know, physical labor can be hard on the body. Things I want to explore with that aren't necessarily kink related. So I've always loved parkour. I love aerial silks, like that sensation of flying, but you know, I'm a human being, I'm not a bird, so that's how I fly, is through, you know, silks and suspension and things like that. Then there's other interests. So I'm a crafts person. I'm very creative. I do blacksmithing. I do jewelry. I do leatherwork. I make clothes. I'm interested in history, how things were done in the past, into anime, healing arts, making food. I love sci-fi and fantasy, painting, dancing, making music. I have a huge passion for growing potatoes. I could geek out on that, but I won't add it to this channel. Maybe I'll do one in my other channels. Herbalism, plants. So, and that is what I have in my playbook. Now, yours can look very different. It's a unique experience, but I do encourage you to sit down and have that conversation with yourself. And it doesn't have to be in book form. It can be like a video or a voice recording, but do record it so you can go back to it, because you may, you know, we don't remember all these things. And especially if you channel like this, where we're just talking and allowing ideas and things to flow, our mind isn't necessarily registering what we're saying. So give yourself that gift of recording it in some form, whether it's through writing, through video, through voice, so you can go back and listen to it again, or share it with a partner if you find, oh, this is really helpful, really interesting, this is a deep part of myself, and I really want someone else to know these things about me before I engage or interact. Or if you have a partner, it's like, this is something I didn't realize, so I want to share that with them. So this is basically me in the kink world, and I hope that this inspires you to explore, find out things. Maybe something I said is like, oh, that's interesting, or you're like, ooh, that's like on my edge or beyond. But I do always encourage you to explore your thoughts, your feelings, your desires, because when you don't acknowledge them, how can we allow them to happen? How can we bring them into existence if we don't even look at them? And that's been the biggest lessons in my life right now, is I need to allow myself to see the things I desire in my life, so that I can bring them in, so that can be happening, so the universe can like, oh, you really want this? Okay, here it is. I'm still on the edge about expanding, having another partner, and just for kink, and exploring that further. But I also feel like that will happen if it's meant to happen. And in the meantime, I have myself, which, hey, I know what I like. I got the direct feedback loop of, ooh, this was a little edgy, this is really soft, I really like this, or just riding that wave of energy. It does make it a little bit harder to go fully and deep, but you don't always have to. It isn't always about going into space. It's about having a loving relationship with yourself and with others, And with that, I wish you the grandest day and week of your life, because it can always get better. Love you all so much. Bye for now.